Alright people, we're mixing it up today. We may have been born too late to explore this planet, and born too early to explore what's beyond this solar system, but at least we're all here now to be able to simulate what life would be like in those time periods. So today, we're going to start in a scenario where we follow the tale of an exiled drug lord far in the future. He survived a police raid on his headquarters and was forced to abandon everything he built on his homeworld. And now, he has to rebuild everything from scratch with the few materials he was able to escape with. I did upload this scenario to the Steam Workshop if you want to try it yourself, link in the description. And if you guys enjoy different content like this, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel to see more. Anyways, our Kingpin decides to land in the rainforest for a year-round growing season. And who is our Kingpin? None other than the famous Pablo Escobar. Despite losing his gang, he still had valuable skills to survive out in this unclaimed wilderness. Of course, he was still a true believer in his ideology, and through sheer willpower, he would dominate this planet. Pablo knew it would be best to build the base using the surrounding hills as possible choke points, and using the hill he landed next to as a starting point to build the rest of the base. Since it was the very beginning, Pablo only needed something simple, a roof to cover his head and a space to keep his supplies safe from the elements. As he slept his first night, Pablo dreamt of the greatness and riches of this untapped land around him. Although these first days would be rough, greatness would eventually come. Unfortunately, you can't build greatness without somebody else trying to burn it down. Now, unfortunately for Fitz, he didn't stand a chance in the firefight, being easily incapacitated by Pablo. But Fitz didn't have to die here. No, he could be a useful part of Pablo's gang. But I pretty much sabotaged myself there because when he got an infection for his wounds, I didn't use the good medicine, so he succumbed to his infection. Although I didn't know Fitz very well, I figured, well, I could at least give him a proper burial. I could only have peace for so long because soon afterward, another raider came. As Pablo prepared to fight this raider, a mad boomalope rushed him, so he had to take that down first. Then, when moving to deal with Axel, Pablo's aim was not up to par and Axel was able to get in close to melee range. Pablo tried to run away, but he was just knocked out by Axel. Then, Axel thought he would just be free to take what he wanted and leave, but he underestimated Pablo since he got right back on his feet and neutralized Axel. But Pablo couldn't let a good fighter like this go to waste, so Axel was captured to be recruited later on into the gang. This whole fight just turned out to be too stressful for Pablo though, and he needed to get high to cope, and then passed out in the rain. After seeing his jailer get stoned and pass out, Axel summoned his strength to break down his prison door. He's angry and decides to take out that anger on a chinchilla who just knocks him out. Now imagine how confused Pablo must have been when he woke up, he just got super high and passed out, and now he's waking up to see the man he just imprisoned passed out next to him. The only thing to do now is just re-imprison Axel. It is so cool that Pablo even trusts Axel enough to sleep next to him in his own prison cell. Finally though, we get a person who willingly wants to join the colony, and that prompts me to think of a name for my faction and settlement. I decided I wanted to name myself something low profile so I wouldn't attract too much attention from other people. Axel then attempts another breakout and Clam just proves he is not much of a fighter, losing to an unarmed man when he himself has a club. Even Pablo is barely able to subdue Axel, but it's done. After getting his ass kicked, Clam was not very happy, and when he gets a bit too hungry, he snaps and takes out all that rage on Axel. And what better to talk about after that than talking to Axel about why he would be better off joining our colony. Now, unsurprisingly, after that, Axel once again tries to escape, but since he is so hurt, Clam easily knocks him out. And seeing how well run this colony is, Clam offers to join me permanently. When it comes to combat, Clam and Pablo do not make a great team. I foolishly thought Pablo alone could take down a singular raider with a club, but Clam was really letting the boss down. I mean, I know Clam only has 5 shooting at this point, but like, come on, he was actually 1 hit away. So after a tactical retreat, Clam finally lands a shot on the raider when he has his back turned. Soon afterwards, we get a blessing. A deserter joins us, and at least he can actually fight well. Yeah, he's getting chased, but Cartel makes pretty quick work of his pursuer. We also finally get Axel to join our colony so it can actually get some research done. Cartel really shows his worth. Even though we made ourselves an enemy of the Refugee Imperium, he can easily handle their goons. In the next raid, Pablo is preoccupied, so it's up to Cartel and Clam to keep us safe. And wow, you can really see the difference between the two in combat. Clam just exists here for moral support because I don't think he hit a single shot in this whole firefight. Fate soon sent us another warrior. Although he was very different from us, Pablo saw potential in him as a valuable asset for the gang. He needed more people to do other stuff to run this base while he was focused on what was important, making drugs for profit. Nugfa was quickly convinced that there was a future here and joined us. Alright, so the footage for the next few minutes got corrupted with some nasty flickering, so just bear with me. This is going to be a slideshow for a bit. After growing a garland tree, Pablo makes a connection to it. The dryads from it would make great workers for the colony. Pablo then learns that the Cube of Freedom, an important relic of his religion, is nearby and he just needs to find some clues to learn its location. But while he's thinking of his future, his past comes back, with his ex-wife joining a raid on his new home. The raid didn't go well for them though. Pablo's ex tries to rush the defenses to get a shot at him, but Cartel makes quick work of her. And when the bullets stopped flying, there was still one mortally wounded man remaining. A man with some potential for the colony once recruited. I figured it was time to take the fight to someone else for once. A small logging camp near us seemed like an easy target. With our 3 men here, we could get an easy victory and raise the spirits of the gang. Their camp wasn't very impressive, with so few people. I was able to set up an ambush that quickly incapacitated the pair. And once we returned home, we finally met a trader who would buy our yayo. But the market on this planet is looking really rough since yayo goes for a lot cheaper than I thought it would. But as we were making gains, other factions sought to keep us down. The kingdom sent a whole squad to subdue our settlement. These troops are very tough, just walking up to us tanking bullets. Fortunately, they only downed the most useless fighter of the gang, and the kingdom was driven back. But as Clam was still healing from his previous injuries, new raiders appeared and they split up to attack us from different angles. While Clam was badly hurt again dealing with the first group, the second group was actively burning down the other side of the base. Nugfa and Cartel tried to deal with the intruders, but the raiders excelled in close quarters combat and beat both of them. They tried to escape with the 2 men, but Pablo was able to neutralize the kidnappers before they could leave. Unfortunately, one of Nugfa's wounds got infected, and despite Pablo's best efforts to treat him, he died of the infection. The gang did not take this death very well. Although we did manage to convince Ichabod to join the gang, he turned out to be a massive disappointment. The man was bedridden due to going through 2 withdrawals at the same time, and he followed a very interesting belief system. At least the game took pity on me by sending me a new recruit, even if he was very vague about why he was here in the first place, but there was, of course, a catch, with him being a pacifist. Alright, we're back to actual gameplay. So it was clear that Bert was not exactly a great fit for what we were trying to do in this colony, but it's not like I could be choosy. Like, we're going through a heat wave right now and people are barely getting by. The only place that has a decent temperature is the fridge, which can't even properly refrigerate food anymore. We do learn the reason why Bert came, and it's not too bad to deal with. It's clear they don't even know anything about our colony since they had a psychic drone target women in this sausage fest of a colony. Ichabod finally gets over one of his addictions, but he realized he was being too useful for too long and had a catatonic breakdown from his other addiction. Clearing out the psychic drone was no problem since there weren't even people around to stop us, but on the group's next stop, we arrived at an ancient complex that would give us information about the Cube of Freedom that Pablo desperately wanted. Hacking these terminals did attract some unwanted attention, but nothing we couldn't deal with. When the group returned home, our base was found to be the battleground of two factions that we wanted nothing to do with. But unfortunately, one of those groups walked through my traps and started attacking me, so I had to defend myself. Fortunately, they caught Pablo by himself, but reinforcements arrived and drove them away. Pirates were becoming aware of the wealth of the drugs being produced here and landed to take them from me, but they landed in two separate groups, so I thought I could just attack them separately so they can't group up and hurt me. This could have been handled so easily if it wasn't for some friendly fire, forcing me to send a man to the hospital. We do see a woman that, although wouldn't join us willingly, would still do as a slave. While we are returning to our base, the other group starts to attack us. Axel attempts to stop them from destroying our wind turbine, but gets overwhelmed. Clam scrambles outside to down one of the wounded raiders, but he is also rushed down. The pirates attempt to kidnap both men. Caltro attempts to save them, but the man carrying Axel was too fast and he's only able to save the worst member of the gang. So yeah, we're down pretty bad. However, we get a gift with 5 refugees offering us to help us for a few weeks, so at least we can somewhat recover from Axel's absence. The kingdom keeps sending better and better quality troops to deal with me, with just one soldier this time managing to heavily wound 2 out of 3 guys I sent to stop her. Convincing our prisoner to accept her role as a new slave causes our religion to change to kleptism, so now the world thinks we're cannibals now because of this cannibal slave. When Ichibod awakes from his injuries to get his shotgun, he gets attacked by a mad tortoise, and I think he should have no problem dealing with it, but a single bite from that tortoise has Ichibod deciding he's not meant for this world anymore. We had received information that a nearby village contained information about the Cube of Freedom, so Pablo and Caltro left to investigate it. Upon arriving, we could see the building where the information was kept and the villagers who were not very willing to let us see that information. Our attempt to ambush the villagers did not go as well as I liked, with Caltro taking an arrow to the chest. We had to take some extra time to heal and recover while we got the data, but then more tribals arrived. With more and more arriving, it was clear I had to move fast to clear the area to get home. Although not fully recovered, Caltro still made short work of the tribal people and saved Pablo from being beaten to death by a club, so the two were able to get home. While they were heading back, one of the refugees decided he was gonna stay here permanently, which was very good for me. There was another complex discovered near the base, and since Pablo was in no shape to go, Henry went instead. Now, one pig was not very happy with us investigating the place, but once we wounded him and took him prisoner, I thought maybe he'd be happier as our new slave. When we brought him back there was a massive forest fire because of a flash storm, way too big for us to put out, but we had to go through it to get back home, so the colonists just had to tough out the heat. In our next step to obtain the Cube of Freedom, we downed an ancient spaceship to hack information from it, but the Yayaya were not gonna let me have this easily. In their first attack, one of them cuts down one of my colonists with ease, survives a headshot from a pistol, and nearly kills that same man who shot him. In the second raid, an Edekin takes 3 shots from Clam's pistol and is still rushing him. Fortunately, Pablo was around again to save him. While the people were sleeping, Edekin arrives again to attack the ship, and Pablo goes out there to face him down. The Edekin runs at him, taking burst after burst of pulse rifle rounds. Still determined to kill Pablo, the Edekin pushes forward, but a final round to the head incapacitates him. The ship was critically damaged after that last attack and needed to be closely guarded to finish the hacking. But my best soldier Caltro decides to have a tantrum due to not having enough fun recently. And the next attack has me doing with 2 Edekin this time. Pablo tries to stand his ground, but he didn't stand a chance and was quickly overwhelmed. He was forced to watch as the Edekin smashed the spaceship and walked away. As Pablo was carried back to the hospital, he wondered if it was even going to be worth it in the end. In that last fight, he lost his right hand to the Edekin Raiders. So much loss and pain, and it didn't even seem to end. As he drifted in and out of consciousness, he wondered if there was even a future for this colony. Hope you guys did enjoy this though. I gotta admit, I'm pretty rusty at playing this game since I haven't played it much since it came out of early access, but I did have a lot of fun. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I hope you all come around again.